Next on Stampede.
Assistant coach fired. The track team's throwing coach is removed, but questions still remain. The head coach and administration are remaining quiet while team members say they were told not to talk about it. Details are coming up.
Plus, energy success. A new report out this week shows Milligan's energy savings initiative is reducing consumption more than expected.
And after years of low turnout, Airband may be at risk of ending for good. We'll talk with Jason Onks about the struggle.
President Bill Greer spoke to the SGA recently about changes he'd like to see to the spiritual formation program. We have more coming up.
And later, Noah Parker will take us into nature on a hiking trip in Destination Unknown.
These stories and more are coming up next.
Stampede TV begins now. The Stampede has confirmed the track team's throwing coach has been fired. Welcome to Stampede TV. I'm Caleb Perney.
And I'm Megan Williams. The now former assistant coach, Anthony Stockton, said over email that he was let go from coaching responsibilities.
This is a picture of Stockton from when he was on a track team in college. Head coach Chris Lane declined our multiple interview requests, and track team members say they were told not to talk about it.
We also reached out to athletic director Mark Fox, who cited Milligan's policy that prevents him from discussing personnel matters. Stockton also declined our interview request, saying he feared it could reflect negatively on the team. Stockton had been an assistant coach for about a year before the firing.
A Milligan tradition could be coming to an end after 6 years. This semester's Airband could be the last. Campus Activities Director Jason Onks says students don't seem to be as interested in the event as they once were. Finding a leader for the event where students lip sync and dance to popular music has also been a struggle. This year, the event was pushed back a semester due to a lack of bands. Onks says he thinks it could be because of the work commitment required. He hopes the entertaining event will continue.
Because it is such a fun thing, and it brings together a lot of different people when you look at, and especially on family weekend, and being able to have, moms, dads, aunts, uncles, friends of the family here. I think that's kind of a fun thing to think about.
For Airband to continue, Onks says a passionate air chair will be needed to make it a success.
Classrooms in Derthick now have clocks. Student government first approved a student request 2 years ago to add clocks in every classroom. This semester, SGA's persistence has paid off. Clocks were added in every classroom over the spring break. The new clocks sync with atomic clocks via satellite. That makes sure they're always correct. Treasurer Praise Gisharu says the clocks will benefit both students and professors.
I have a lot of classes on the first floor and the third floor, and those are the two floors that didn't have clocks in any of the classrooms. And already I can see where professors are now able to look at the time as they go along, so they know how to move along from different questions that are holding class behind. And then you also have students who, during tests, are able to keep up with the time.
Student Government's sidewalk project is now moving forward. The bricks that will replace the mud pit across from the library have been ordered. The bricks are expected to arrive at the end of the month, with construction to begin in April. The month of April is blocked off for the project in hopes that construction will be completed before graduation. The goal is for graduating seniors to be able to see the completed project.
We're hoping that inspires future SGA executives and Senate members to want to make a change and have a legacy project and do something else to help make campus better.
Guthrie says SGA executives will meet with Brent Nipper, Director of Property and Risk Management, Monday to confirm plans.
It's been nearly 2 years since Milligan first announced a project aimed at reducing energy usage.
And now a new report out this week reveals we've actually saved more energy than expected.
We are launching an energy project that will dramatically overhaul the campus infrastructure over the coming year, and it will reduce our energy consumption by 20%.
A report released Tuesday by Energy Systems Group shows Milligan reduced consumption by 13% more than expected. Beginning in the summer of 2016, using that company's recommendations, Milligan replaced heating and air systems, installed new thermostats, new lower pressure faucets, and new lighting. Brent Nipper, Director of Property and Risk Management, says a new tracking system has helped maintenance crews. They've been able to spot problems sooner.
By now, in the course of a year, we would typically have done a lot of repairs on some things, possibly even having some major expense items that we had to replace. That we've avoided a lot of that with them, so it's really been a positive experience.
In addition to lower maintenance costs, Milligan had expected lower utility bills would lead to a 6.8% reduction to the physical plant's budget. That's more than $160,000. Nipper says they actually reduced costs by 8%. But he expects more savings this year.
I really feel like this first fiscal year that coincides exactly with the first year since the completion of the full project will give us the best indication of how things are going against what was projected.
Nipper says both he and maintenance staff have had a mostly positive experience with only minor issues.
The one thing that has not gone particularly well is, and you're probably aware of it, is keeping our dashboards going.
Those dashboards show students and faculty energy reduction progress. Nipper says he's working with IT and Energy Systems Group to resolve the problem. This week's report was the second in a series of quarterly reports Energy Systems Group will provide over the next year. After that, Milligan will continue to receive annual updates.
With school shootings still in the national spotlight, you can learn how to protect yourself in Milligan's first ever Safety Week. It's next week. The week begins with an active shooter training session on Tuesday, where you'll learn how to react in a school shooting. Wednesday, campus security will have a table outside the CAF where you can learn more about Milligan's procedures for various emergencies. Student government will host a campus security reception Wednesday at 4 in the sub, where you can meet and thank our security officers. And Thursday will be a day of fire drills across campus.
And it's really all about promotion and getting information in people's hands and being available for questions, anything like that.
New equipment is coming to the playground at the Emmanuel Village, and kids are already getting to check some of it out. A swing set and soccer goals were recently added through planning between resident director Kevin Hurley and David Brown, head of landscaping and grounds. Hurley says the goal is to give kids more chances to interact with each other as a community. He hopes the additions will help kids come together to play.
With the younger kids, I thought maybe there was something else we could do with it. So I've been working to have a little bit of equipment brought in here to the playground. We've gotten a swing set and with a couple of soccer goals and maybe hoping to get some other things here in the near future.
Hurley is already working on more additions to the playground. He says he and Brown have discussed bringing in more equipment like monkey bars or even an octoball course.
President Bill Greer spoke at a recent student government meeting where he shared his hopes for the future of Milligan. He said he would like to see an end to spiritual formation credits. SFP credits for chapel and other events have been a graduation requirement for many years. But Greer says he wants to create an atmosphere where students want to come on their own. He plans to still hold chapel sessions. He's hoping this change will make it more enjoyable for students.
My dream and my vision is that we wouldn't have to scan cards to give spiritual formation credit, that our students would be so personally motivated and inspired to be there, and our programming would be so good that students would just want to be there, and it would be unnecessary.
Greer says ending SFP credits wouldn't happen for several years. He'll include it in his long-term strategic planning. At the meeting, Greer also mentioned the possibility of renaming Milligan College to Milligan University, but with some opposition that would be far into the future. After the break, we'll sit down with a student who spent her spring break serving victims of Hurricane Harvey.
And later, Noah Parker takes us on a hiking adventure in Destination Unknown. Stay tuned.
Hammocks. They're one of our favorite pastimes. Student leaders promise new mounts behind dorms to make things even easier.
It's going to allow for hopefully 14 hammocks.
But when a year passed with no mounts, we asked why.
The hammock mounts that had not been installed a year after the plan was announced.
Those interview requests were declined. The very next morning, those mounts were installed. We stuck with the story until the very end, because we are in this together. We are StampedeTV, Milligan's student-operated news source.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
While we were enjoying our spring break, some students were using their time to help victims of Hurricane Harvey. Megan Betry was on the trip. Megan, can you tell me a little bit about the trip?
Well, what we did, we mainly went down to Rockport, Texas, and we went to help people that were victims of Hurricane Harvey. We were split up into separate groups to help various people around the area.
Awesome. And when you say we, who are you talking about?
The people that went from Milligan was Jason Onks and Brad Wallace. They were the staff that were there. And then other students that went with me were Kayla, Becca, and Abby.
So people from SGA and Apostolos. Mm-hmm. So what is some of the work you did down there?
Well, like I said, we were in separate groups. What my group did for most of the time, we mainly helped refurbish the inside of a home because the outside was pretty much fixed by the time we got there. We worked on a closet, helped get that painted, helped fix the baseboards and stuff. We worked on like a oven vent, I guess that's what it's called. And what we did most of the time was try to get, some of the cabinets fixed. We actually installed new cabinets, which was very tricky and time consuming. And we actually had to take out the microwave because it was too low above the stove. So, we had a couple of trials here and there, but we got through it.
Awesome. And so why did you guys choose to go down there for spring break?
Well, there was a hurricane. It completely, the area that I was in, the house that we worked on, pretty much every house in the area was destroyed in some way. Some of the houses were still standing and stuff, but it was just, everyone had some sort of destruction to them. So it was just really heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, I bet. And so did you ever get to meet the families whose houses you worked on?
Oh, we did. The group that I was with, I believe his name was Juan. And it was kind of hard to communicate with him because he mainly spoke Spanish. But Kayla, she was one of the students who actually went to Milligan with us, and she spoke Spanish and English. And so she was able to communicate with him, and I bet that was a good experience.
Yeah. And did you ever get to meet any of the other families who lived down there?
Well, the last day we worked on another house, and I don't remember what her name was, but she was a very nice lady, and unfortunately her home was pretty much almost entirely destroyed, so that must have been hard for her.
Yeah. And so how did you guys get connected with those people in that organization down there?
Well, we partnered with Samaritan's Purse, and there was actually other volunteers there too. Like there was a school from Michigan that was there as well. And we kind of broke off in separate groups and went to different houses throughout the area.
Yeah. And you worked a lot during that trip. Did you do anything fun while you're down there?
Well, on Wednesday night, we went to Corpus Christi, and we went to this really nice seafood place, and, we got to look at the ocean, and we got to see a battleship, and that seafood was pretty good, even though I was not a fan of what I ate. It was calamari. It was a little too squishy for me.
Yeah. Awesome. And so how did you get involved in trips like this and Apostolos and doing these type of things?
Well, you can actually go to sbvolunteer.org. You don't have to just go to Rockport, Texas. There's several other mission trips that they have there. You can go to Louisiana. I believe that was one of the options. There's several other mission trips that you can go. It doesn't have to be just the one in Texas.
Mm-hmm. And does Apostolos have anything coming up in the near future?
I'm not 100% sure, actually.
Is there anything else from the trip you'd like to add?
Well, we all had, every single group that was there, we all had a director, so to say. He kind of showed us what to do, and he told us where we had to go. He helped us work the saws and stuff, because that was all new to us. We didn't know how to do construction and stuff.
Yeah.
Especially me, I didn't know how to do those big saws and the hammers and the nail guns. I almost cut my finger off.
Yeah.
And so it was just really amazing because they were just so patient with everyone. Because most of us, we asked like the really dumbest questions, and we always had to ask him questions when he was working on something else. And he had to get frustrated, but if he didn't show it. He was always just so patient with us. And I thought that was really amazing because we all learned how to be patient that week because we were all getting very frustrated.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
The latest national and world news after the break. And later, Noah Parker will take you on a unique hiking trip in Destination Unknown. More Stampede is after this.
I used to think news is news. It's all the same. But it's not. There's a big difference between local broadcast news and cable news. See, local stations are part of my community, connecting me to local news, weather, and sports on every device. It makes sense. Get the news from the people I trust who actually live here. No agenda, no bias like on cable shout shows or social media, just facts. For news I can trust, I stay local. Support your local stations. Text TV to 52886 today.
Chiru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
2 national championships in 1 year. It was the first time it had ever happened before.
It was kind of one of those surreal moments, like at the time you don't really realize, the magnitude of what you've done.
When one person has an accomplishment, we all celebrate, because we're in this together. We are StampedeTV, Milligan's student-operated news source.
It's now been a month since 17 people died in a school shooting in Parkland, Florida.
Students across the country joined in a national school walkout Wednesday to demand actions from lawmakers to prevent future tragedies.
What started in Florida on display today in schools across the country. Students in New York showing solidarity with students in Parkland, Florida. In Washington, students, most not old enough to vote, sending a clear message to the White House.
Make America safe again! End gun violence! Make America safe again! End gun violence!
And demanding action from lawmakers.
What Parkland showed us is that this could happen in any one of our schools. And we as students can't take this anymore.
Some messages could only be seen from the air. A heart in Green Mills, Pennsylvania. In Portland, Oregon, a peace sign. And in Los Angeles County, California, the word enough. The walkouts lasted 17 minutes for the 17 victims in Parkland. In St. Louis, 17 empty chairs, another sign of those lost. Students at Columbine High School, who weren't even born when 13 were killed inside of their school, still feel the impact 19 years later.
Every time I walk into a new classroom, the first thing I do at any year is to find the best place to hide in the door. In the case of an accident, it's just a subconscious reaction. Any doorway I walk through, that's the first thing going through my mind, just in case. What if?
These elementary students had a message in song.
Another nationwide protest is scheduled for April 20th, the anniversary of the Columbine shooting. A school safety rally scheduled for March 24th in Washington could draw hundreds of thousands of people.
President Trump fired Secretary of State Rex Tillerson earlier this week. The announcement came on Twitter at a time when the government is working on plans to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
Outgoing Secretary of State Rex Tillerson speaking for the first time since his firing.
What is most important is to ensure an orderly and smooth transition during a time that the country continues to face significant policy and national security challenges.
Tillerson said his tenure will officially end on March 31st and said he spoke with President Trump around noon. Tuesday morning, the president gave his take.
I actually got along well with Rex, but really it was a different mindset. It was a different thinking.
One crucial area where they felt differently, North Korea. Tillerson, aligned with Defense Chief Jim Mattis, pushed a more measured, less aggressive approach than the president. And Trump said last week's announcement for plans to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was made without his top diplomat. Sources say Trump has been talking about replacing Tillerson with Mike Pompeo for months. Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair Bob Corker said the confirmation process for the current CIA director will begin in April.
I think he's excited about his new role or his designation, and I told him we would move through the confirmation process as quickly as we could.
Democrats have already vowed to make it tough. Some worry it could be too close to that proposed North Korea summit.
His confirmation may take weeks or even months in advance of the summit of the century. And so this move is very disconcerting and disturbing for American foreign policy.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Police in Austin, Texas are still investigating a series of package explosions. Packages left on people's doorsteps and the night exploded once picked up. A 17-year-old died after one of the packages exploded.
He was going to go to college and he was going to graduate this year, and they just took his life like that.
DeMontre McKenzie says he's in shock after his friend was killed in a senseless explosion. He says his friend, who lived on this street, had already been accepted to several universities and had big plans. At only 17, he was described as a talented bass player.
He was very passionate in it. And he just loved to play music in the orchestra and in band. I would watch them practice, and he just gave everything his all.
Friends tell us the young man was part of East Austin College Prep's orchestra, and a conductor with the Austin Youth Orchestra told us he played with them as well. The conductor described him as one of the kindest, most positive kids he'd ever worked with a bright future ahead of him. The conductor also said he'd just been accepted into a prestigious summer music program in Michigan that he planned to attend before heading to college.
He had big plans.
McKenzie says friends are rallying to support the young man's family and each other as they mourn losing him.
I hope the person that they find out who the person is and justice is served, because they took his life away and he didn't even deserve that.
Dalton Smith joins us now with sports. He has details on national championships.
After the break, I'll have more on the basketball and track teams. Sports is next.
A shooting on campus. It's something we hope will never happen. But it seems to be happening more and more often. We asked questions and discovered what you should do if it ever occurs here.
You could have 22 city officers in that vicinity within 10 minutes.
Now guidelines are posted in every building. It's potentially life-saving information because we're in this together. We're Stampede TV, Milligan's student-operated news source.
You may not realize it, but these words, often used to describe someone with a mental health condition, can be very harmful. In a country where 1 in 5 people are affected by a mental health condition, it's time for all of us to step up and change the conversation. Just because someone's struggle isn't obvious on the outside doesn't mean they aren't hurting on the inside. We need to see the person, not the condition. Join with me, pledge to be stigma-free.
The men's basketball team ended their season with a record of 15-14, and Aaron Laverty broke the school record for most rebounds in a season with 351. The previous record was 348, set in 1999. The team lost in the first round of the NAIA National Championship in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Number 2 seeds, Cornerstone University, had a strong defense and formed a wide lead in the first half of 24 points. The divide increased to 31 points with only 10 minutes remaining. The Buffs fought back and brought the deficit down to 18 points with just 2 minutes remaining. The final score was 88-68. After a successful season, the track team continued the success at Nationals in Kansas. 5 team members received All-American awards at the Nationals. Nathan Baker, a freshman from Middlesbrough, England, returned with the national title. And now, here are the latest scores from other games this week. The baseball and softball teams both split doubleheaders last weekend. The baseball team won over Truett McConnell 15-4 and lost 1-0. Softball team won over Point University 10-2 in 5 innings. They lost 8-2. And that's what's going on in sports.
Thanks, Dalton. After the break, Noah Parker will take us on a hiking adventure in Destination Unknown. More Stampede is after this.
Graduation. It's one of the biggest moments for each of us. But overcrowding meant that we could no longer have just one ceremony. For some, this meant sharing the event with your entire family. For others, splitting up this community.
And I know it's not expected and change is hard, but we had this idea. We would all matriculate together and we would all graduate together.
We provided you with a voice on an important issue because we're in this together. We are Stampede TV, Milligan's student-operated news source.
You act like you've never seen someone do this before.
Because I haven't.
Really? I've been doing this for a while. Saves me a ton of money.
But we share this milk.
Then we're both saving money.
No doubt you're going places, young lady.
Thank you. And thank you for the interview as well. I can imagine it was the last thing that you wanted to do after such a long campaign meeting.
You really are a very intelligent young woman. You're very smooth.
You're very smooth yourself.
You have no idea.
You are watching Caleb Purney and Megan Williams, Dalton Smith with sports, and the rest of the Stampede TV team. Sophomore Amy Shoemaker has won awards in 2 photography competitions. First, Shoemaker was announced as a finalist in Photographers Forum magazine's Best of College and High School Photography contest. At the American Advertising Awards, she earned 2 silver awards, and she was one of 2 students that received a scholarship.
It wants me to strive to be the best photographer. It's made me look at the way I shoot my photos and break down okay, how could I work better to use my aperture in relation to my shutter speed, and of course that's what photographers do. But it makes me want to break it down further and go into the relationship between all of the parts and pieces and aspects of photography.
Halfway into the semester, it can be helpful for students to get away from schoolwork and spend time relaxing in nature.
Stampede TV's Noah Parker visited a great hiking spot near Irwin where you can do just that. He takes us there in this Destination Unknown.
Today we're riding down to Irwin and exploring a short but sweet hiking trail that could make a perfect break from school. It's time once again to expand our local experiences here on Destination Unknown. This particular spot is a segment of the much longer Appalachian Trail stretching from Georgia to Maine. I took this journey 2 days in a row. One day it was filled with snow, the other it was only partially snowy, but I found it beautiful and peaceful both days. The trail's almost all uphill for this segment, but never too strenuous or steep. The mountainside it resides upon faces the Nolichucky River, which you can often see as you walk. It only takes about 30 minutes up this path to reach an area on the mountain overlooking Irwin, where you can catch a great view of the area or sit and rest. It's a nice spot for picnics, studying, or just enjoying nature, or at least it should be when it gets warm again. To get to this trail, take I-26 east until exit 40 and turn left onto Jackson Love Highway. Immediately take a right onto Temple Hill Road, and then there's just one more turn on your left onto Unaka Springs Road. Once you pass the Chestoa Pike Bridge on your left, there will be an Appalachian Trail sign on your right that you can park by. Walk up the side of the road for a few yards until you reach the speed limit sign where the trail starts. It's only about a 20-minute drive for an hour-long hike up and down the mountain. Noah Parker, Stampede TV.
For more information on the Appalachian Trail, check out the website at appalachiantrail.org.
And that's all for this edition of Stampede TV.
For the latest news information, visit us online at milliganstampede.com.
Or check us out on social media.
More news is available in the print edition of the Stampede and newsstands on campus.
Thanks for watching. I'm Caleb Purney.
And I'm Megan Williams. Join us again for our next newscast on April 6th. Have a great rest of your day.